Doesn't take long either. It's just like 20 minutes
Yeah.
the night before.
Yeah, to get all 10 or 12 of your appointments
You
done,
also
right?
learn so
Yeah.
much about the customer in the sense of what if they decline something and now they're coming in for the outcome of the thing they declined or whatever. Like
Yeah.
just knowing their habits, what they've done before, what they haven't, what issues they've had, just gives you so much insight into their experience
Right.
so you can serve them better because you kind of know like, hey, they've had this recurring issue,
Hmm.
they complain about rattles or whatever it is. It gives you insight into how they maintain it, how
Yeah.
often they come in.
Yeah.
A lot of times like we assume, oh, customers come in once a year for this brand, and then this customer's been in 3 times in a year because they have had different warranty issues or that sort of thing. You would approach them with a little different, you know, empathy than just somebody who's coming in for an oil change.
Yeah, my one of my best advisors that ever worked for me, his name was Doug, and his pre-write ritual was pretty crazy. But he would print up, he'd have his pre-write, then he had like just a stack of copies of our maintenance schedule, which it really ticked him off when I changed the maintenance schedule pricing because he'd have to throw away his big pile of maintenance schedules. But he essentially had the pre-write, and then he staples the maintenance menu to the back. And he had a color coding system, right? It was pink, yellow, or green. And green was if they'd already done the thing, and then yellow was if it was due,
Good.
and then pink was if it was overdue. And he like kind of had a thing that he said that I really liked it. He'd be like, "You've done such a great job because you've done all these 3 or 4 or 5 things, and I'm sure you probably want to keep taking care of your vehicle the same way that you always have been. Here's what's next, here's what's after that," and everything like that. And it was that. But that wasn't like the genius of what Doug did, is because what he was looking for was like the personal information. So like where they were from, all that stuff. So he would like do a little bit of research, and you'd find out that like, oh, okay, so they were from St. Charles, Illinois, and his kids go in the St. Charles districts. So he'd pre-planned conversations based on the information that he had. Now we also had at first with our old DMS, we had a little section where we could put little notes about the customers in the system, and we would go in when we were as an advisor, and we'd put down like has 2 kids, 4 dogs, one dog's named Buddy or whatever it is, and then he's hitting all that stuff when they come in, on top of he's looking at their last 5 visits.
Yeah.
And I remember him one time for sure, like he was checking in, the customer had been like 2 or 3 times for a funny noise, and then they hadn't been in for 6 months, and he asked me, he's like, "Hey, that noise, it looks like it's finally gone." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm so grateful." And then they start right back in with the gratitude, and then you're just easing into it. But I thought that his ritual of the pre-write it's the best I've seen. But I always think about that, like that pregame is, I think about Doug.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I remember when I first started going around and fixing service departments, there was this guy, and he would hire me to come in and do advisor training. But his department, like it was this big Ford store in Washington, and he would kill it. Like they were a huge operation, but his numbers were nuts, his hours per hour, all that. He did this thing that everybody would think was inconceivable to be able to execute, but he did it, and it wasn't negotiable, like the way he ran it. But remember back when the DMS just gave you an op code, that was it. Like there was nothing there. He had all the files. Like he literally had 2 people filing constantly. And at the end of the day, they had to pull all the advisors' appointments for the next day's files. And all the advisors
Oh,
had this
wow.
accordion thing on their desk with all of the
Oh,
files.
that's
And
great.
I just remember making the connection of the night before, all the advisors would be going through those files and through the ROs. And, some of those files were huge because customers had been coming there a while. And you're talking about a farm, farm community. People drove their
Yeah.
trucks hard,
Yeah.
like, a lot of information. But that was non-negotiable for him. Like that you had to go through the ROs and that you had the file right there readily available And the fact that all the files were up to date, it was something that was a priority, you know?
Right.
And we have so much more access now to that information. You don't have to pull a file of
Yeah, you like have to hit the H button.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Thanks so much for watching this clip of Service Driving Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.